Hello everyone, this is Dan Gramza, and welcome to Gramza Market Studies for Friday, October 23rd. I want to say something before I begin today, and that is I spent the last couple days in Toronto and at the World Money Show, and I just want to thank everyone who came up and said something to me that they watched the videos or subscribed to the videos. I really appreciate that. You know, Daniel and Lee and Joe and Bill and just so many people who came up and said something to me. I want you to know that helps make it special for me because then I feel like there's somebody on the other side of the screen that I'm speaking to. I know there's a lot of numbers there, but in terms of people, but you make it special for me. And thank you for making my trip up to Canada special by saying something to me. I appreciate it. Well, let's talk about these stock indices then. You know, as I mentioned to you yesterday, I think we need to be guarded about being super bearish on these indices. You know, one of the things we wanted to do was to leave, well, this isn't the advanced video, but leave some of these sell points in place because we want to give this market room to work. Now, Friday, a big deal kind of day. This could be a big day. It has that kind of potential, structurally that kind of setup. And if we can get above these shadows that we see here previously, it should be explosive. That's the kind of behavior we're looking for. So the measure, the size of how today unfolds, that's going to be important for us. Judging another way of evaluating the type of action that we're seeing here in these stock indices. So we're looking for unchanged to higher, potentially explosive day. Let's talk about those currencies though. Dollar continues to get weaker. We're not seeing any signs of that letting up here. We're looking for the continuation of that action, and we're looking for strength to come in and to continue to come in the euro, the Swissy, the Aussie dollar, our friend the British pound, and the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar in yesterday's action backed off a tad bit, but we are finding buyers at these lower prices. The issue here, though, is we need follow through. I'm not so sure we're going to see it there. And in the Japanese yen, we are looking for continued weakness in that market as well. When it comes to the interest rate markets, well, the short end of the curve came back up and tested these previous highs, but it's got to move through it if we're going to see conviction in that market. The notes and the bonds continued weaker. We are expecting the continuation of that action. But as I mentioned to you yesterday, I think we need to be cautious about these levels. These are at significant levels in these markets. So would we want to be bearish from the point of view of these markets coming off? The answer is yes. That's what that red line would represent to us. But it's going to be very important in terms of how we behave today, and I think we need to be cautious at these levels. And when it comes to the metals, you know, as I mentioned, gold, silver, they just seem to be struggling. These are markets waiting for an excuse to do something, and it just really hasn't happened yet. Copper, on the other hand, this little guy over here is behaving properly. It's the right kind of rest. It's going to be important today to see follow through in Mr. Copper. That's what we want to see in that market. And crude oil took a nice little rest here yesterday. Today is going to be important. What kind of tone is it going to set going into this weekend? Are we going to see a close above $82? That sends a different message than if we back and close below $80. And we'll talk more about that next week. Well, natural gas, that did back off. You can see how this market slowed down. We saw that bearish action the day before. We were looking for it to come back off, and indeed it did. The issue, though, again, I'm guarded on that market. I do not really expect to see natural gas fall out of bed here. A pullback, possibly, but I think we need to be in a position to take advantage of an up move if it decides to do that. And in the grains, you know, we talked about the weather issues, and there are some weather issues floating around out there. We are looking for explosive days in this market today. So today, we should have a very strong close going into the weekend with the kind of fundamental things that are floating out there in terms of weather. That would be the expectation for this market. Well, this concludes today's market studies. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Looking forward to being with you next week. And in the meantime, take care.